Okay, get this started. I was already then. No, I can't think. Um, Good morning. Good morning. Sorry, I'm a little bit um discombobulated. Today just feels like it's got off to a very strange start. Um, so I'm both ready and not ready for stream at the same time. So yesterday after stream, I spent some time getting the requirement ID in there. And I was trying to get this lined up so that I could get off just basic drudgery of copying data and move towards the next part, which is displaying the detail of the planning item and the requirement that it's attached to, and the requirement that it's attached to. So yesterday after stream, I got the task, so you could hit the task button on the requirement, and I wired that up so it's saved in the back end now. So if I go over here, that doesn't work there, but this works here. So if I've got an attached requirement, the requirement identifier will be attached to it. It's out of order because you can't change that order, and I didn't want to wipe the data just yet, which is okay. So I'm going to finish this particular component. So this is the creating the, so again, I don't have to worry about update yet because I don't have the concept of an update. This is making sure that I actually get the requirement on the read side of things. So this is requirement identifier, and that's requirement ID. That works. And basically, what I'm validating is something similar to this, where I'm saying acquire requirement, which doesn't exist yet. And that's requirement identifier. That's requirement identifier. So again, similar pattern. Right. So that's the goal. So we'll create that. That way we validate that that happens, and then we need to say, okay, well now the t.requirement ID equals requirement ID. So the task on this side will have a requirement ID, and it's nullable. Okay, so that's what we're testing. I don't test acquires. They're pretty much routine at this point. Or they should be. Acquire project, acquire planning item. Some of these are a little bit more, yeah, it's going to look more like that. This is the newer style. Acquire requirement. And it's going to be an acquire base. Int. Oh, derp. Derp, 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 derp. Acquire. So the command is going to be an int. That's going to be a requirement. going to be that. And that's going to be that. That's going to be that. That's that. That's that. So requirement has that's interesting. That's an interesting challenge. Huh. This might fail still. So there's no planning item ID. There's no created by user ID. So when we update the planning item though, do we allow for that and do we update that? So update planning item, we don't set those things. So this is a new challenge. No, that's not required. That's not requirement, is it? That's when updating requirements. So the update planning item requirements. All good. So when we create it, we put these on there, but they're going to default to 0. So this is going to create a bug if I do it this way. But is it the right thing to do? So the way acquire works is if I was to get this event for the task before I actually receive the requirement. So let's say I created a planning item, I create a requirement, I go and say, hey, create a task on this requirement. The planning system may have saved the planning item, it may have saved the requirement, and that's okay, but the publishing of that was delayed, or there was a problem with publishing it, and that came out of sync. I had a task for that requirement, and now that requirement isn't in the view system at this point. For whatever reason, the consumer's not running, something's gone wrong. The requirement doesn't exist in the view system at the moment. I have to be able to recover from that. If I put the identifier on there, then I push the problem to the view side of things. So I write a query that says the requirement may or may not be there. And that tells a lie because the requirement should be there. I'm expecting it to be there. If the data is not valid, that's not my problem, right? So I've got to do something. Now, I don't pull requirements directly, I don't think. But the point of this is that there's quite a deep knock-on effect to me doing it this way. For the data integrity side of things, get comments, get projects, get planning items. So I only get planning items and I get requirements as an associated part. So I don't have to worry about getting requirements directly. I'm not going to say, show me a list of all the requirements because they might not have planning items attached to them at this point. So realistically, this is going to set planning item ID equals 0, created by user ID equals 0, right? I'm setting them explicitly because they'll default, but I want to make sure I'm being explicit there. So the acquire will work. Requirement, command identifier. Yeah. Identifier equals that. That's because they have right now they're unique versions, whereas this is using a common denominator, a common base class. So this will fail appropriately. But it does give us the knock-on impact of having now when the requirement actually comes in, right? Update requirement, update planning item requirement. Oh no, that's update. That's update. If it exists, that's great. If it exists, sorry. So in this case, it will be existing. So it'll get here. We also now need to say, okay, was it acquired, right? So if existing dot planning item ID equals 0 and existing dot created by user ID equals 0, then we need to do a little bit more, right? And that is this, right? So we're going to need to do this in here, right? And then set existing dot planning item ID equals to planning equal to. We're gonna have to set them in that scenario. We'll come back around on that afterwards, but I'm not sure I like that any more than the double ampersand, because it's if this and this is easy to see and read, then a pattern match. I mean, that's it. If these fields on this object match these values, then we're good. I'd be interested to know, is that a performance improvement as well? But ultimately, that's what we need to do. So let's remove that for this second, because there's some tests around this piece, so I don't want to break them. But for right this second, this code can be testable. Can be testable. English is not my strong point today, it seems. Okay, so we expected to call that. I mean, expected the task to be created with the associated requirement. In this case, and t dot requirement ID equals null. Right, that's expected. Completely understandable. Thank you. So let's go and get that fitted in update task. So again, if command dot requirement not null, then var requirement ID equals await send. Now this is all complaining because of the that, and then requirement identifier null. I'm trying to get. I realized yesterday that when I've got this sort of stuff, because I can use these now in .NET, I really should be naming the parameter to be clear, especially in tests. More so in tests than anywhere else. So let's run them. Let's validate that passes. So again, this is just going to mock that assignment in theory, and it'll just break in a big heap. Object reference, not set. It has line 42. Of course it's line 42. A task exists and requirement is associated. Yeah. Morning, Delta. How you doing? So, all things going well, tomorrow will be a day off work. The company I work for makes sure that every month comes with at least one day off. And in a month that doesn't have a federal holiday, and October's the last one. I regret going to the gym early. I did 20 minutes of cardio instead of 10. I took vacation today. There's a conference tomorrow. Nice. I'm hoping my knee heals because I can't walk properly. So I can't do karate, which is starting to bug me. Unconference is an online thing. It decides to do a half day off today. Can have a day tomorrow. Nice. That's a good thing to do. Okay, what am I missing? I'm missing these tests passed before, so let's run that. Kevlin Solution of Guild. I feel like I've seen him before. It's funny. I'm not. I did see the solution. I kind of skipped through the video to see the solution, and it is close to where my brain went with the solution. So I was like, okay, confirm. I'm happy that I didn't do the kata because I'm not a big fan of doing katas. Um, but yeah, that was a nice touch. But I had something similar in mind when I was talking to Mojo. I always wondered if he's as good as he seems. Eh, we all have good days and bad days. Like right now, where I'm failing to understand what the heck I did wrong here to break this object reference not set. What is repository? No. True. I mean, I think it takes a lot of guts to stand up there and do a conference talk. I was nervous yesterday and I had to present a slide to 120 people, and I was nervous, and that was on Zoom. So I can't imagine standing in front of a bunch of people and saying, "Hey, look, I know better." Like I can't imagine that. Yeah, I stream, but then I'm streaming to a small group of people that I generally have come to know pretty well, so I'm more comfortable maybe. Um, but yeah, yesterday I was like nervous talking to just, and I wasn't even open to questions. It was just literally, here's what it is, and I didn't even fill it all in. And my boss was like, "Oh, just for reference, here's why." It's like, oh yeah, that might help. Um, I think his speech was good in that he didn't present that as a you should do it this way. It's like, hey, look, here's a way of doing this, and here's the challenges that and he's just kind of talking through that thought process, and I kind of appreciate that. Um, I didn't watch all of it in detail, but I did skim through enough um, to understand that he's like, hey, look, this is a way of doing it. Here's the things I was considering, and I think that helps a lot of people. And at that point, it's up to the consumer to disconnect between should and could. Um, like you've got an opportunity to learn a technique rather than the code. Oh, okay. Here we go. Let's put this here. Let's go there. Let's go here. What did I mess up? I think. Hold on. No, I put that in the right order. If anything, I messed up the order of something. So let's debug that. Let's see. I want to move on from this. Come on, this was meant to be. I did everything else in like 10 minutes last night, and now I'm stuck on this part. Repository is set. Command is set. Requirement ID is null. That's okay. Oh, hold on. I bet I'm an idiot. I get an idiot prize today. No, that's nullable. It's perfectly fine as nullable. I've integration tested .NET Framework. I found an MVC core testing framework, but I don't think framework is an equivalent. No, no, I've never had that sort of time. Okay, so that is at line 42. So it's still failing at line 42. So it still thinks this is the problem. So what did I mess up? So it's not this, it's setting this. Oh, Is that giving the same error? Line 36, update task line 36. Being dense. I know I'm being dense. I'm missing something very obvious. Target framework 4.7. No. Again, integration testing takes so much configuration to do effectively. Test errors don't seem clean enough, maybe. I'm not sure why this is failing. So that should come out as a null. But it's erroring at our dash result OP implicit. Oh, it's because of the return type of this. So this returns a result of I don't think I could get away with a cleaner code that I want here. I don't think I can do that there. Yeah, I don't think it can represent null. So now it's a mismatch of type because that's it's because that. So there's an implicit cast on a result to the type of its internal value. So you can pass a result around and refer to it by its name, and it will implicitly cast. But in that instance, I was returning a null result essentially, so it couldn't resolve the fact that it was a null. So all I've done there is dropped it out of yeah. So I've just pushed the problem there. Well, because null is a valid. It was if I'd have actually. So when I made that, and it was. Yeah, that is true. If it knew this was going to be a result, and I made that in a nullable in, that should have complained. So now this is failing because that. But that might be my test more than my. No. Can I do that? No, you can't do that. You can't do nullable inside of a. So now that's failing for a different reason. This might, as much as I like this from a convenience standpoint, this just might just not be the way to do it. So instead, let's do if command dot requirement identifier is not null. That's that. And then task requirement ID equals that. No, you don't like that either. What are you like? That's fine. Ted actually hates ternaries, for instance. I think there's times when you definitely shouldn't, but yeah, in that case, it just kept the code flow going without the branch. But being that the types are different enough, it's causing too many problems, and that will mean that the code is less readable in the long term because that little behavior in there made the difference, right? Yeah. Triple nested ternaries. I've done triple nested ternaries. If it's something like um, I suppose these days I could probably do some of the stuff that I did with pattern matching, but sometimes it's like, okay, the different values in an object or something. It's better than writing all the ifs. But again, case by case. I wouldn't discount a ternary. I like ternaries. In that case, it kept the flow moving along nicely. I get that it's an implicit, like there's an if there. And as a ternary, you don't see that if. You have to think about it so the if doesn't stand out, and you actually do have some conditional behavior in there. So I get why you might not like it, but I'll generally use it in that case when I'm getting a piece of data. Continue again. If you watch Uncle Bob's videos, um, oh, that really hurts that knee. Yeah. Is this me being a dingaling? No. Oh, that's why. Well, I got to set the test wrong, didn't I? Because of the copy paste error. Okay. So if we have a requirement, we acquire the requirement. Okay, so that's part one. But now we just opened up a massive can of worms and a big problem for the data. Acquire requirement, update task, include optional requirement identify ID on task. Acquire requirement. Those are mots. You have one set up for the mots per file. Yeah. So again, because I don't like the arrange act assert in every single test, I like the assert to be the fact. So in the arrange, I set up. I mean, it's one mock of sender, but I'm setting up the conditions that I use sender in. Okay. Just verifying that outside of integration test is speed sometimes, which would be the alternative way. Okay. This is actually talking of integration tests. This is actually one where a test to validate this behavior would be incredibly useful, because what I'm about to do is going to make a big mess of this. So don't start this now. It's too early for this, bud. No, it's too early for standing on me. We can't be sitting on my lap right now. I've got another hour and 20 minutes of a stream. Is that okay? Is that okay with you? No, you don't think? Would you like would you like a cookie? No? Oh, okay. No, no, they're they're how would we call them? Staffies, I suppose is the closest. Taylor looks more staffy. Loki looks like um a pit and a Labrador were good friends. But they are brother and sister. They are from the same litter. Oh no, these two are very needy. They like their company. Tell you, bud. Okay, time to lay down. I know. I know, bud. Come on. Um, now these two are. Yeah, you probably haven't seen Loki on stream because you finish at about 8. He normally jumps up on me in the last like 10, 15 minutes of the stream these days. He decided that sitting on my lap is a good place to be. Oh, these two will. I mean, if we get a guest in the house, they will jump on them and just keep licking them as long as the person lets them. Uh, and they're strong because Loki's 40 or 50 pounds. Taylor maybe a little lighter. Hello, bud. I know. You're not having the tissue. No. He also loves tissues. Ah, okay. We're doing this. We're doing this. Okay. Hello. Hello, buddy. Um, yeah. I'm not a big fan of the licking. It's just something they do. And Taylor's definitely it's her coping mechanism. She's a bit more uh nervous. You're not having my coffee either. No. Coffee's out of the question. Get to see the back of a dog's head. Stop. Um at least if you're gonna come on screen. Oh, okay, we're giving hugs. Okay. Okay, bud. Okay. I know. I know. Come on, buddy. Time to lie down. No, not on me. We're laying down on the floor. Yes. Yes, we're laying down on the floor. Thanks, Sully. Oh. Oh, you want up, don't you? Okay. So here's Loki. At least show your face. Okay. You're okay, Taylor. We're gonna get down now. He was literally I don't know how much it can be heard. He was literally lifting his legs off the ground as I was stroking him there. Uh, just so I would lift him up. You happy now? Okay, bud? What's that over there? Look, what's over there? Look, there you go. Look. They show your face off. Okay. We can have a minute and then we're done, okay? Do you want a cookie? You a big fan of cookies? You're a big bone. Yeah, you like big bones? Okay. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to see if I can get him to not want to sit on my lap. And then we'll continue on with this challenge. Look. Okay. I don't know how long this will last for. He's mooching still. he he ripped my headphones out my head out of my ears because he was trying to stay on me as I tried to put him down to the floor again. So that was quite the debacle. Okay, so we need a new unit test. So this scenario is we have acquired the requirement because we've got it out of sequence. Now, the likelihood is this won't happen for a while, even in testing, because if the topics are all running fine and the services are all running fine, there's not going to actually be an issue here. But it can happen. And there's no point ignoring it. And if I just move on and assume, oh, it'll be fine, this is going to cause me a problem if it ever happens. And it will cause a major problem because it would mean that the requirements would be bad and they wouldn't get updated in the correct way. So when requirement exists but was acquired, fact planning item ID is updated. Fact created by user ID is updated. So those two things need to happen to get the associated data for the requirement. And this is all about data integrity, right? It's about the system being able to store the data it needs at the time it needs, rather than trying to come up with some convoluted back off system where we say, okay, well, we don't have that information yet, so let's hold off onto that for a while, and maybe we'll process it later. This means that the system will be, its integrity will be unaffected because a join on this would fail. Yeah, mods are good for figuring out error handling because you can easily throw the errors. Well, yeah. So this is the alternate branch, right? It's the, well, the requirement is updated. I want to explicitly state that these things are updated. So in the name of time, I am going to, it will always be in the name of time for the stream. I don't like copy and pasting. I actually would prefer to write these all out because it allows me to think about them as I go. But in the same, it is mind-numbingly boring to watch unit testing anyway, when you can't relate to it. So in this instance, what we're saying is that this is 0 and this is 0, right? And what we want is private read only period, no, int expected planning item ID and private read only int expected created by user ID equals. I don't know if I said it. Hello, Sully, by the way. Hope you're well. Yeah. So what I want to do here, what I'm actually going to do is I still want to validate that the update happened. So this test is still valid. I don't need I don't need that because I'm just sending in that. I need those two. These are very much important to the test. Still got to figure out how I want to do that sort of stuff. Like arrangement of the tests. Again, if you're using test properly, you should be considering them just as important as regular code. So taking the time, taking the time and paying attention to the design and the readability of them is also important. So we return a requirement. We do have a requirement. And that comes back with 0 and 0. And what we're expecting to see is, so repository dot when r goes to r dot update async arg dot is requirement. I don't need quite such. Do info goes to. So what I want to capture specifically is I want to capture that updated object, and I want to validate that those two values are there. So private requirement and I'm going to capture that update requirement equals, right? That's what that does. X. I'm just going to validate. So I could do it here, but I'm just going to explicitly requirement dot is expected created by user ID and requirement dot is dot planning item ID dot is expected planning item ID. So in this instance, I'm just trying to directly call them out that I'm expecting those two to be updated. I could put them in there, but then it's lost in requirement is updated. Again, I'm just validating the requirement is updated with the values that I actually passed in. That's okay. This should fail. Well, the other two should still pass. Right. So let's make that pass. I don't think that's going to pass because I don't think I set those up properly. Yeah. So again, the similar issue when it doesn't exist is these two cases that I actually want, right? So I do need to validate that the sender does send. So those do need to be there. And this is expected, created by user ID and expected planning item ID. There you go. So sorry, the grimace on my face, if it shows properly. My knee is hurting and I fidget a lot. I don't like my legs. I don't like sitting still. But my knee is hurting, so every time I unfold it, it kind of it makes me grimace and I don't like it. So I'm taking what am I allowed to? I think I'm allowed to take ibuprofen. I think that's the one I am taking. There's one of them I'm not allowed to take. Um, I am taking something to reduce the swelling and reduce the pain, but I can't take certain medicines for a variety of reasons. And also, I don't like taking too many of anything because I've seen what happens when you take too many. Yeah, yeah, yes. There's I had a friend who was put on a medicine uh to help with one situation, and it caused a whole host of situations to the point where he had to stop um, a whole lot of stuff that he enjoyed. So it turned his life on its head as far as that was concerned. So I'm not a big fan of taking a bunch of medicines for things. Okay, so that passes. Okay, so I'm just validating, I'm just reading through that again just to make sure it's passing for the right reasons. Okay, so now I have some duplication. Um, I mean, this is ultimately extract method um, was previously acquired. Right. And now this is let's see. Fetch. How's it gonna do that? Wow, it returns a method signature. That's not gonna happen. So I want that out. Return created by user ID null underscore false. I mean, ultimately what I'm trying to do is private result int acquire user. doesn't need to be there because the sender is injected anyway. And then that can just be return. It doesn't save me anything. That saves me absolutely nothing. Because I end up writing the same exact code. I just have an acquire there. So if I do this as an apply to a requirement, it doesn't matter what that is. So, okay, Taylor. So Loki enjoys sitting up here. Taylor loves laying down on the floor by my feet and taking up all the room. So, yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this as an apply. Let's see if we can do that. Private void, private async task result bool result. Let's just go bool for now. Apply. Requirement. We don't need sender there. Don't know why it keeps wanting to inject that. Requirement. We need the command. That's the problem. Command. And then that's command. What am I doing? What am I actually doing? Dang it. User identifier. Command dot applying identifier. So oh, it's because async can't do that. It'll be updated anyway. I don't like when I'm intending to change the value of something. I don't like not doing that. Await, apply acquired values, command existing cancellation token if result equals if what do I want to do here? Return result.conflict. And just return probably not the tidiest way of doing that, but it does work. So what we'll do here is remove that, take that, then await apply acquired values, command requirement cancellation token, and then Same pattern. It's tidier. It still does everything it should do. If so, if we deem this was previously acquired rather than actually updated. Right, because we have the record, yeah. It's all. My brain said that was a wave, and I'm like, hold on, I already said hello to you. Just a random keyboard stroke in the chat. Oh, we've made a mess. Now we're gonna run away. Okay, thanks, Loke. Okay, at least we tidied that up so we're not repeating that acquire stuff. We called it apply acquired values, so the implicit behavior there is that it will actually change the requirement. That should work. Okay. Again, we might not get to, and it's important to write that unit test now, and at least because then if that scenario occurs and it doesn't work quite the way we expect, because whenever you're dealing with database stuff, just because it passes a unit test doesn't mean things are going to work quite the same when you get to actual updates and stuff. So, yeah. So let's go and commit all that. Capture if we acquired the requirement when loading the task with the requirement ID, then it's important to update the relevant action next time we get a requirement through. And it'll have the right information because it's for that requirement. So we know that it'll have the planning item ID attached and it does need the thing. So we should be okay there. So with that done, a little later than I intended, let's go and update the receiver. So this is going to now have event dot requirement identifier, which can be null. So yeah. Let's run that and validate we get a requirement. Nice. So what we want to validate is we get a requirement attached. So the thing I wanted to talk about today as well, which I was hoping to get to by now, because again, the rest of that stuff took me 10 minutes last night to get the requirement ID attached to the task, so it wasn't difficult. I'll give you a see you later wave as I head out for a quick lunchtime blast on my bike. Ah, sounds good. Have a great ride. I hope. Thank you for the look. Appreciate it. Okay, let's go. Let this build. So there's a use case I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to start talking about it now, right as Dota's planning to go to work, which is a challenge. Oh no, you're off. You're off today, aren't you? Ah, nice. So good timing. So yesterday we got into a conversation about t-shirt sizing, and I raised it a little bit in the Discord, I think, last night. And I started to think about, so when I hear these workflow challenges, I start to think, how would I work with them in Liquid Sky? And full disclosure, I don't necessarily have an answer for this yet. I'm thinking out loud and sharing that, as workflows appear, I kind of test them against what I understand my idea of Liquid Sky to be, right? So create task for requirements. We can add a task. This task is when I click, I should see a dialog for adding a task. I should be able to add a title and description. When I say the dialog should close, implement dialog having requirement identifier. The requirement should be referenced against the task when the task is saved. Again, this would go as a developer thing. So that should close. And then on this side, we should see we have the requirement identifier. And ultimately, we should be able to see that requirement ID appear here once it gets through the system, which I'm going to arrogantly believe is not going to cause any problems. It's just going to work. So t-shirt sizing, where do you t-shirt size, right? So t-shirt sizing doesn't belong in tasks. It's not a dev task concern because the t-shirt sizing comes before we've even planned the work out. The t-shirt sizing is I think it's this big. If we're going for actual small, medium, large, etc. I've seen it done where we give kind of large point ranges, where we say, oh, okay, that's a 30, that's a 50, that's an 80, that's a 100 or whatever, right? So do we put a t-shirt size on this? Or, and the reason I'm thinking about it is, do I think of it as a first class citizen? I.e., is it a core concept of the product? Or do I consider that kind of, okay, you can add custom fields later. Let's talk about a custom fields thing, and you can add a custom field for t-shirt size. And that's solved through that because all it is a reporting category, right? I've also seen 3 months, 6 months, etc. Yeah, which, as we've got into many times, any association with time is it's challenging, but yeah, that's the way businesses think, right? We've kind of fully accepted that we understand, we comprehend the fact that businesses want timelines. So yeah, 1 second, I will read that in a second. Right now, I am completely blind. Compared to that, I would bet my prescription's changed. Like when I contracted, they'd say we're going to pay you X, and I want you to build Y. How much time do you need? Yeah. Yeah, suppose if you're contracting, you get pretty good at you either get very good at estimating or very good at cutting corners. Let's see if that requirement got there. Yay! We got requirement 12,006. So that code, I mean, yes, because I'm a professional, that code passed first time. I'm not completely surprised that it made it. Create task for requirements. What is the numbering system that SQL is using here? When I restart it, does it actually move on 1,000? No, because it's been restarted way more times than that. Huh. Contracting, you're given a large timeline. 3 months will be short. 6 months is pretty safe because you'll be finding something crappy out in 6 months. 12 months usually isn't an acceptable answer. Well, you start saying a year, people get, yeah. And again, I think we all understand that the further out you go, the less specific things are. And that's the point of the t-shirt sizing, right? Is the like throw an estimation down there so that you can kind of put it in place without worrying too much about it. But it requires, no, bud, you're not coming back up. It's time to sit down. I know. I love you, but it's time to sit down. Yeah, so ideally you want to scope out 6 months of work, and if they want more after 6 months, have that convo. Yeah, because again, you've got to clarify these things, and the further out you are, the less specific it can be. So I don't think I've necessarily missed that requirement. I don't think that is an actual solid requirement. And I think that right now I can consider that a future feature of custom fields, which is something that will end up happening anyway. Custom fields become nightmarish because it's an entire thing, right? And even pointing on the stories, on the stories, pointing on the tasks is something I actually thought, do I make that a first class citizen, or do I make that a user choice? Pointing, time estimates, etc., are all the practice. The estimation part is the higher level concept. Probably staffing the tickets is non-trivial, also non-trivial. Yeah, I get that. And I think oftentimes organizations expect users to, or expect people to put like these estimates on there, and then they wonder why they're so far off. And normally I think that instead of saying we're wrong, or we don't understand the software enough or whatever, they just say, oh, well, we can't, here's a deadline. But I think in a well-oiled machine where the software is well understood and the developers are providing reliable estimates. Again, not perfect. You can't get perfect, but yeah. Okay, so in the planning item requirements list, I should see an add task button. When I click it, I should see a dialog for adding a task. So right now, this is our add task button, right? It's pretty easy to start more projects than you'll finish. Thinking in terms of priorities is more helpful. I think you also have to consider, I think a lot of organizations kind of set their priorities without understanding what the requirements necessarily are. I think making sure that you have a good understanding of dependencies, of having a good understanding of what is available to you as far as the software goes is also useful. I could prioritize a burn down chart right this second, but I don't have anything to burn down, so I'd have to develop a whole lot of stuff to get to burn down chart. But that's what's required, right? They want to see how fast developers are working. Well, I can't get to that because I've got a whole lot more stuff to do. So understanding what you have and what you don't have is a very important part of giving accurate estimates. And Phil Stumble, hello. How's it going? No. Lay down. You want another cookie? Am I being mugged? You've got dirt on your face, by the way. You've actually got mud on your lip. 4 projects a lot of time starting all 4 is going to be a major issue. That was kind of one of the things we went into in terms of parallelization and context switching at that training course. The idea that if you start 4 projects at once, they might take just as long as starting them serially, but the quality of them is likely to be lower because you've not taken them at the right pace in the right order. You know, you might get project 1 done within 2 weeks in the serial manner, but it might take 8 weeks in the parallel manner. But then you've got all 4 projects finishing in one time frame. Yeah. Sitting there growling is not getting you what you want. You are not coming sitting on my lap and programming with me. Lay down. I know. So yeah, I think t-shirt sizing estimation, I think that's a I wanted to cover it because it does it again, when I come up with this, when I hear of a process or I see a process, I think, how does it apply to what I'm doing? How would I do this differently? And I think t-shirt sizing definitely fits in the custom fields category. It involves the in maybe there's some guided custom fields. Maybe there's, hey, you can have this, by the way, and it's already set up for you. And here's the values it's going to pull. But I think that's a long way away. There's also why, how, what. You want the tickets from products to be why and what. That was in the article last day. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's I think that's what this is starting to achieve. This is definitely achieving that why and what. Loki, we no, no, I know, but we don't have the setup for this. I can't type if you sat on my lap. No, it won't capture him. He's just off screen enough. Large difference between product delegating versus ordering. Yeah. You okay, my friend? I know, I know, I know. My apologies if the camera's wiggling around. It's because he's leaning on my arm. Come on, bud. I know. You gonna lay down? Come on. Go see your sister. Okay. There we go. So yeah, let's move on to the next part. So view the requirement from the task. So now with this, what is it in this one? Control Shift, Control Shift Q. It's Command Shift L on Mac and Control. Okay. Select star from. Select star from tasks. T. Join. Loki, no. Left join. I don't know how much of that you can actually hear. There's our requirement. Okay. So if we add another requirement for that, What do you want? We can't keep having this debate. No. So let's add another requirement, just to another task. Test task 2. Yes, I'm typing with one hand. Testing requirement. Let's see. Task. I want to remove that debug statement as well. Again, we move that there. That was that. That was in add task. I was in the store, I think. I did that. Task store. Was in the service? Yeah, service, okay. Okay. So we now have our tasks. There's task 2. What we wanted to do is see the requirement that drove this task, right? That's ultimately what we want, and probably the planning item as well. So again, we have a task with a requirement attached to it, which is fine. Left join planning items P on R dot planning item ID equals R equals P dot ID. And then we do task dot title, task dot description, R dot intended outcome, R dot identifier, P dot title, P dot description as planning item title, as planning item description. So this does get into the realm of, I'm not certain I want to track all this information in every task, but yeah, T dot data added as, how do we do that? Use at time zone. One day I'll get used to that. T dot last updated at time zone UTC as last updated. Okay, so that gives us that's the as requirement identifier. I don't think that's useful. I think what we need there is P, because we can navigate to the detail of the planning item. We can't navigate to the detail of the requirement. So we have our title, our task, our planning item identifier, intended outcome, our planning item title, our planning item description. Do we need the task title? I suppose if we're pulling planning item title, we might as well. Although we don't need description of planning item. If we want the description of the planning item, we should go to the description of the planning item, or do some sort of hover. I don't think that's useful. But the title of the requirement might help. R dot title as requirement title. Yeah, because then we can group by this as well. He says, Yagni. I'm not thinking of future requirements, honestly. So let's do that. Let's modify that view. So that's our tasks view. Yeah, probably want a bit more there. modify view. Okay, so let's do join tenants tn on tn dot. T dot created by user ID. T dot identifier. Tn dot identifier. There we go. Okay. I think that is our view. So we have data added, date last updated, created by user ID, description, and title. So we won't break what's there. Modify view. That's everything there. Let's go and add it to our. Kind of did that in a backwards manner, but that's okay. So in our domain now, in our view of task, not our not our data model. This isn't us storing the task. This is us querying the task, right? So the view is very different than the actual, but it is our view representation of this thing. If you are new to the stream, if you're just dropping in and you're wondering what's going on, you are more than welcome to ask questions. You're more than welcome to pass opinions or dig deeper. If you want to see what I'm doing, you want to know more about the technologies, you are more than welcome to ask. I am not. I like doing the coding, but I also like doing the sharing and the discussion as well, and learning. So, yeah. Requirement title, intended outcome, planning item title, and that's pretty much it, right? Yeah. I like that it does that. So now those fields, and it knows the nullable. That's awesome. Those fields, configuration. I don't think there's any actual specific configuration for those. Yeah, there's nothing there. You gotta go eat. You're right back. Where's Delta? So now, by virtue of updating the view script, let's make sure we capture that. Otherwise, I'm going to be in trouble. By virtue of doing that there, we should be able to restart the GraphQL piece. Go to our view. And then we get into the, do we actually? Let's go and make sure we get the data back first. Let's see what it looks like from a GraphQL perspective. Let's go over here. If you are watching on YouTube, by the way, don't forget to drop a like if you can. I have learned that when you are watching YouTube videos, especially live streams, the likes help it get seen and get exposed more, and get more people to see it. It never occurs to me to ask for that, because to me it's like, you want to hang out and watch, but the same, YouTube doesn't have a big community of dev streamers that I can find. Discoverability on YouTube is not easy, and it requires interaction with the stream. So either comments or likes or subscribes help build the channel, help grow the reach of the channel. And, I'm a 344 subs, which has grown quite a lot in the last year of doing this. I think I was like 20 subs, or no, I had 100 or so, I think, at the beginning of the year, but I think I've grown quite a lot on YouTube just this last year. So if you are watching on YouTube and you do like this sort of content, and then I would definitely appreciate that. So we've restarted GraphQL. What I want here now is to go over to Banana Cake Pop, and we need to go and we need to update the token. That's what it's doing. And then refresh the schema. So now tasks should update. So task now has all the extra information. Just by virtue of changing the model, we now have that because it will map. So let's validate that it actually does work. So we need planning item identifier, planning item title, requirement title, and intended outcome. Does that work or does that crash? There we go. So we do have those extra fields. So on this side now, we can go and get those fields in there. Oh, tell me I mistyped that. Antius, hello. Welcome in. I hope you're well. Let's go and change. Let's go and change that. Eh? Let's spell things correctly. Taking a short break. What are you working on? I am working. I'm working on a project I call Liquid Sky right now. That's its code name. Because I have no creative abilities from a naming perspective. Liquid Sky is a platform for project management and planning. Think of something like Jira, where product management can outline their requirements, can, I love Jira. So what I'm doing, what I'm focused on is the fact that Jira is very good at capturing a whole load of stuff, but after a while, if you don't keep a very close eye on it and manage it well, it becomes a big mess, and I've seen it turn into a mess far too often. So what I'm focusing on is the ability to track planning and requirements as actual things that product and management understand and like to do. I have this concept of a review date. So items, so a person can keep track of their work and say, hey, I want to look back at this in the next month, so I want to move the review date forward so that the work is constantly being put in front of them. When it comes time for the developers to work on stuff, the idea is that the requirements can generate multiple tasks, and the tasks are what the developers work on. So I'm starting to build out this feature right this second, which that should load, but that is not going to load because that's going to error right this second, because I just typoed that. But so the goal is to kind of break away from this traditional one view solves all the problems, and I have plans for a lot more alerting and notifications in the system, because again, Jira is a management tool. It is really built for tracking what people are doing, and as a developer, if you're given work to do, you just care about doing that work, and you don't want to be telling people all the time where it is, other than your team. Accountability with the team is one thing, but yeah. So I'm trying to establish that it's nullable, just based upon many years so far of working in tools like Jira, of working in workflows like that. So, Mojo, good morning. Normally I'm doing games, but I do web dev as a side hobby. Care to see my new project just put out a few years ago? You can share it if you like. You might have to whisper me if you're going to give a link. Unless it's a public site that you can tell us about? Because it won't let you link in chat. Nice. Movies to review. Very cool. What made you want to do that? You love I assume you're a big movie fan. Yes. So what technologies do you use? What's your favorite technologies for building website stuff? Suppose I could do it that way. So nullable. I'm going to come back around on that because they're both options for the same thing, I think. Oh, it's a WordPress site. Nice. I now need a tool that gives me insight into what non-tech teams are doing. Non-tech teams. Fun fact, they can use the same tool as you do. It's work tracking. I'm not a programmer, I'm creative and good with front end and DevOps, so WordPress is good since it can install features, modify and style. That's cool. Like, I'm a creative. I like how developers are not lumped into that. As I actually still consider developers creative. I just think we're not visually creative all the time. But then I see people like One Lion who has more of an eye for that design side of things and an idea of how that works, and that's visually creative as well. Like I have no talent on that front end. Right. This is just by virtue of the tooling I'm using, not anything else. So that's crashing. GraphQL 500 error. Why are you crashing? Task service. Oh, did I? Oh, did I actually misspell it? Identify. Spell it. Did. There you go. I'm a Caesar. God. I I respect having great confidence in yourself. Okay. Morning, Napalm. How you doing? Oh, it's green. Need that really? No problem. Need that bold? No problem. Okay, there we go. There's our tasks. Okay, so the idea right now is I want to display. This will take us to a good point. We'll talk about what's coming next. So we have we have in the tasks view, backlog components, detail. Okay. So if item.requirement identifier attached requirement yeah, speaking of front end, Emporium guy, he loves front end. That's just a great stream to go and hang out in. This is not good so far. This is not good. Because I bet you I'm not pulling the requirement identifier in. Please tell me I'm not pulling the requirement identifier in. I'm not pulling the requirement identifier in. Yay, requirement identifier. Fire drills today and yesterday, end of day, poor planning on your part. Should not constitute an emergency on my part. No, it shouldn't. Agreed. Do I not have requirement identifier then? Ooh, I do not have requirement identifier in my view. You're going to charge a subscription for this, I assume. Yeah, so the right now, I want to build this. This is as much about a hobby as it is about building a real product. Now, I do want to make it a real product. I think it does help solve some of the problems that we do have, we experience from a development perspective and from a management perspective every day. And the long-term vision, I think, does definitely solve those problems. So the intention would definitely be to make that a product. But again, it's a lot of work. There's a lot more to do just to make it, just to even get the concept that I have in my head across the line is going to be a challenge. Okay, so the problem there is I'm not pulling the requirement identifier out, even though I've got the requirement. So I do need the requirement I did. Do I need the requirement identifier? Am I using that just for saving? Do we have a save and load problem going on? Do we need that to be able to say? Because essentially, if we've got a planning item, we've got a requirement attached. One of the programmers on our team made a small program that compiled all your random notepad files from daily notes into a checklist. Huh. Attach requirement, no attach requirement. Okay, so there we go. So we're now getting into that realm though where the layout of these things is going to matter. Item dot. So that implicitly makes them null. Okay. So I can do the nullable thing and it be some string or undefined. Okay. Don't like that, but whatever. Requirement title, markdown, data equals item dot requirement, intended outcome. Okay. That's funny because H5 is smaller than that. That's amusing. Um, I've got to work on Angular this weekend. Got to like it's required. Oh, that was enough to do that. There we go. Okay. I'm just trying to highlight the fact that it's different. So they span from that requirement. So let's go back to the planning. Let's go to as a product manager, I want to see tasks, progress against requirements. Introduce status. We need to be able to actually do something with that. So the risk I'm running here is obviously because I'm not dogfooding this. I'm actually going to make a mess of my own data while trying to. Oh no. Oh, do something with the to be able to. I know there's a scaling issue there. That's a different problem. Oh, I am actually getting into the um I'm going to finish my thought before because I just can't stop and I can't help but skim read, and that's completely derailed me. So I'm going to finish what I was actually going to say. I'm getting to the point where I can my desire to get the features in there, to get that vision in there, are surpassing my desire to focus so much on the UI. But the problem is, as I now go deeper, the UI is going to matter more. I'm going to have to make some consideration. I really do want to find some way of actually designing this application. And I think it's getting to the point where I can actually demonstrate it to someone and say, hey, can you come up with a design for this site, a full makeover, and go through those workflows because they're starting to show. But the cracks are going to start to show. You know, something like this where it rescales. That's an easy fix. I'm not going to be worried about that. But yeah, to be able to represent the progress, we need to track the progress of a task. Task does not add a column for status as with client PI. Status can be backlog, pending, in progress, done. Does backlog and pending, so pending would be in the sprint, backlog would be sat outside. Does this matter? Let's say it does for now. It'll be one of. So we need the ability to have status. That's the goal there. Never thought I would say these words. I have a dead body, cadaver, waiting on us, fixing the issues we are having that caused the fire drill. You work in a college or something, and the gross anatomy lab is waiting on something. Bad tech. Our device is having a summation today. Summative. Ah. Fun, fun, fun. I know I've seen you say what you were to before, but if I hear the word cadaver, I instantly think of it's a more clinical term, or more detached term. Oh, that was a person. I bet your humor is pretty dark though, working in that sort of environment. No, 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 no. Let's not continue that. Okay. So yeah, we get into this realm now of where is this useful to see? What does it, because the requirement, the requirement that drives it matters, right? This will be updated as well. So if this changes, it will update here. It's not like it's a copy of that data, which is another benefit of doing things the way this is being done, right? Because this data is consolidated down into this view database. It's not actually pulled from there or copied from there or anything like that. Um, so yeah, so my design is getting weaker because I'm trying to get features in there that matter. Now on here, on this table, I think, let me go back to the requirement that we specified. Create tasks for requirements. In the planning item requirements list, I should see an add task button. When I click it, I should see a dialog for adding a task. I should be able to add a title and description to the task. When I save, the dialog should close. I should be able to see the title of the planning item that the task is associated with. When I view a task, I should be able to see the content of the requirement driving the task. So this was a poorly worded spec, but it is a spec nonetheless. So what I'm saying there is in the tasks table, th scope equals call planning item, and then this is td a click equals, we're going to navigate this. Router link equals planning item. Will that work? Task dot. You good, Taylor? Sorry. Does that work in there? I don't think that does it? Click. Navigate planning item. Task dot planning item identifier. Wait, task dot planning item title. Create method. I believe I need a constructor with a private router, angular router, this dot router. Navigate. Oh, can I do it that way? I don't need the method. That'd be awesome. So can you do, yeah, that, okay. That's identifier. Does that work is the question. There you go. Okay. So let's not go too far ahead now. So this week, what we've achieved so far is we are now able to create a planning item. We can discuss what that planning item involves. We can really join a non-tech stand-up this morning later on. Oh, have fun. Antius, thank you very much for the follow, by the way. Appreciate it. I don't know what's going wrong with that all of a sudden. No reason for that to break. There you go. Okay, just a moment. Well, party time. People are waking up here too. Spider continues. Cross fingers me. Napalm, have a great day. Hope things go well and things are done. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, you know, the text chat comes through. You're more than welcome to converse. Twitch is the primary platform, but you know the stream does matter to YouTube as well. So if you are enjoying the content, if you drop a like, if you subscribe, I stream 5 days a week, most weeks, for at least 2 hours, starting at 7 a.m. Eastern. My accent doesn't necessarily tell that I am in the US, but I am. And yeah, any questions, thoughts, opinions, you know, more than welcome to share. There is Discord linked in the cards below as well. So I'm going to wait for the ad to finish to summarize. But I think things are moving along, and I think I've got to figure out what do I focus on next, because there's a whole lot of pieces that this opens up. Low-key, no. Nobody. No. No. Um, um, okay. We're going to wait for that ad to finish, and then we'll summarize. So 4 seconds remain on the ad. Everyone should be back. Okay. This week, we have focused on the requirements gathering piece. So as a product manager, I want to be able to define a piece of work that I expect there to be done. As a product manager, you don't always understand the technical requirements, and nor should you. So you want to lay this out as this is a piece that I think would add value to the system. This is the way that I think it should work. So this is essentially our story in Jira, because the number of times where I've gone through with the product and they've said, okay, here's what I want, and you're like, well, that's like 8 stories. I want them to be able to describe that, and we can still break these up, but more on their terms and less on ours as developers. So the goal is very much let them define what they want. Discuss. So in this case, as a developer, the requirements set out in the planning component of the system do not align to how the software breaks down. If we try and fit the software development into the requirements, we may miss components of the system or misunderstand the technical needs. Loki, no. Nobody. No. Loki. Okay. Loki's going to finish the stream out with me, it seems. So again, the planning item broken away from the technical requirements are very important to me, and I see it all the time where we suffer from those two being merged. Either it's a restriction on one side or it's a restriction on the other, and compromises are made, assumptions are made, ideas and thoughts are lost. So the idea being the planning side, they set out what they think are their requirements. And these are not necessarily technical requirements. They shouldn't really be technical requirements anyway, right? They should be clearly defined so the business understands them and why. From here, the developers are going to, we'll probably end up with a different view here in some way, shape, or form. I flip-flopped a little bit on the wizard idea, but we went with this for now. And going back on it, I think a way of discussing this and seeing what's created is very useful. And hi Ez, how you doing? I have a question. How do you deal with confidential info like AWS secret in a real world application? Like how do you save it? And also, I can't push it to Git because it's too risky. Yeah, like Felix Ramos says, using Key Vault, etc. Um, and then having credentials for Key Vault. You shouldn't share them in Git. You should always keep them private, and they'd be configured at deployment time. Um, you never want to risk your development and your production overlapping as well. So you definitely don't want IDs and keys and stuff shared. So just finishing this up. So as a product manager, I can outline my requirements. They can be set out ahead of me. And then from here, I can create a task. Going to the tasks side of the system, this is what the developers would use more of. This is their overall backlog. This eventually will have projects. It will have the ability to assign to team members. This is not the workboard. This is just the backlog, and it's a shared backlog for all. There'll be filters, etc. on here. But a requirement that is spawned a task will be listed here, and the planning item will be linked. General requirements or general tasks that have been added without a requirement attached would also be visible here. And again, assignment, etc. I'm still debating whether I want to introduce a review date as a concept to these. I think it's probably useful to have a review date. I just don't know what drives that review date um, and sets that up. So yeah, you going to sleep there on me, bud? But yeah, this is starting to outline what I'm thinking as far as this application goes, and in terms of the workflows, in terms of that. But again, I'm running the risk of there's so much in here now as far as where I could go next. I don't want to focus on the UI, but the UI is going to become ever more important because that workflow is if I make it painful, it's going to seem painful and I'm not going to get the right ideas across. But in the same, I don't know what I want to do right this second. Like understanding the requirement that drives this task is important. How important? Where do you want to see it? Why do you want to see it? Adding comments and notes and attachments to the actual work as well is going to be, or being able to see the attachments when it's attached to a requirement is going to be important as well. So, what if you dog food through Trello or something that is lightweight? You mean use Trello to outline the work that I've got to do? Loki, this is not a good way for me to work. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. But it's really difficult to talk and work like this, okay? So Okay, you're gonna sit there for a minute. Okay. Um, I'm not sure I want to break because again, I'm moving away from space. I'm not necessarily trying to. I'm inadvertently trying to dog food this so that I can ask these questions as well. So, or not inadvertently, I am dog fooding it essentially. These also, I'm not sure. I don't want these to come up to the top. Newest first. Um, we've got the idea of priority to add on to the low key. No. Okay. Um, the status. Um, I'm not moving away from the States. No. Um, um, just in time for Logan to come and sit back on me. Thank you to Sully. I appreciate it. I appreciate that. Okay. So we need to. Ow, Loki, you are a lump. You are a lump. Okay, I think we rated Fullbots on Monday, Andreas on Tuesday. No, Fullbots on Tuesday, Andreas yesterday. This is Loki a much better stream because of Loki. I'm glad that Loki adds value to the stream. That's awesome. I will have to figure out doggo cams because I think you'd appreciate seeing them as well. Them becoming up. You want to become part of my stream? Huh, huh bud? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So if you have any thoughts, opinions, questions on this, I'm always open to discussion about this. There is a Discord. It is open all the time. I do drop in and have chats as well. Um, because I like I really do care about this. I really care about this process, and I still think that this does start to highlight those disconnects. Um, coding streams with a dog or a cat count view are better coding streams, much better coding streams. 7 out of 10 pets will agree. Do you want to be on a stream? Should we divert the entire process of the stream and make a cookie dispenser? What do you think? Do you want a cookie dispenser? We'll do robotics. He's currently laying on my arm so that I lift him up. Yeah. It is 10:10 today. Good point. Okay, all. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you um, for the chat. Yeah, you too. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Um, I will try and figure out a camera for these two. I do have spare cameras. It's just figuring that out, right? So yeah, but from Loki and myself, have a great rest of your day. We're going to raid 4 bots. We do need to have. Oh my! If you integrate bits, cheers, and donuts for pet snack dispenser, you'll get a very fat doggo. This guy eats all the time, and you think we starve him. He's you can feel his spine, and he's very skinny. But he also runs around and uses my pool cover as a bounce house. So yeah, that's scary. But thank you all for joining me. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. I will try and raid if I can actually hit the buttons, and we'll hit ending stream. Have a good one all. Take care. I'll be back tomorrow, and I will open Discord for chat tomorrow. Yeah, we can talk tomorrow. Yeah. Okay. Bye all.